What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about if women should be approaching men. Before I start this video, I just want to say that pursuing a man is different from approaching him. This video is about the approach, that is, making an initial impression so that the guy knows that it's safe to pursue. I personally am not in favor of a woman pursuing a man for very long at all. But as a man who has been approached by a fair amount of women, I can tell you from experience that it can be very effective. Speaking to, introducing yourself, asking on a date, overtly flirting with, making first contact, or anything else that gives the impression to a man that you have noticed him. It's actively breaking the ice as a potential suitor. It's not getting a guy's number or approaching him and then trying to woo him as men do women. It's just making the first contact. There are so many people who will hate me for this because they are committed to the traditional roles between men and women. They don't believe that a woman should ever approach a man or initiate contact with a guy. Their argument, besides it being unladylike, is that if a guy's into you, then he will approach you and make first contact. But as most of us know, that's not always true. A lot of men aren't very good at or willing to do a cold approach on women. The anxiety around rejection is something that most people can identify with. But for some reason, people always assume that a real man or a good man will always be able to overcome his fears or anxieties about approaching women. When it's brought up that maybe a man is afraid, there is usually an attempt to emasculate any guy who would have such a fear. They say things like, a real man is going to approach you, or a real man is going to make it known, which is often true, but just as often isn't. Furthermore, a man's willingness to put himself out there and be rejected has almost nothing to do with his propensity to love a woman adequately. It has more to do with his past experiences or lack thereof, the vibe she gives him, his confidence level at the time, the type of opportunity that presents itself, or how long the window of opportunity is to make the approach, among other things. Some of the greatest men I've ever known have had trouble approaching women, especially in situations when they had a long-standing crush or had gotten familiar with the woman over time. The more you like her, the more dangerous she becomes to you, the more you fear her. Now listen, I don't disagree that the challenge of initiating contact should be placed at a man's feet. But I'm here to help women get more of what they want, right? What I'm saying is that if you see the qualities that you want in a guy and it lives in you to do so, make contact. If the man that you want hasn't made a move and you feel empowered enough to do so, make the first move. Take control of your life. And there are a few good reasons to do so. The first of which being because you can't pick who picks you. I guess it's just human nature. But the overwhelmingly majority of women leave who they end up with in the hands of fate. Early on in life, they learn to be chosen by men. There's this blind faith that a good enough guy will approach them. And ultimately, that doesn't always happen. Many women, after dating exclusively only the men who approach them, start to feel discouraged. But why is that? It's because, in large part, the types of men who get really great at approaching women are womanizers. Many men who have a real reverence for women aren't picking up enough women to master the approach. If just by chance 4 players like the way that you look in your yoga pants this year and approach you the right way, you'll respond well and ultimately be disappointed. They become the symbol of your experience and men, even though that they are more likely to approach you than a man who isn't sleazy. Any sorry-ass man can approach you. Why ignore a man of value because he hasn't made the first move? You're more likely to notice the man of your dreams than he is to notice you and do something about it. He may notice you, but you're asking a lot for everything to go right. Waiting to be approached by men just leaves a lot to chance. Some of you are very serious about finding someone of quality. You can't be leaving that type of stuff to chance anymore. You have to start choosing your men. You have to start picking your men. Women are missing out on a lot of potentially great relationships, holding on to very rigid masculine and feminine role ideas about who talks first or who approaches who or who asks for whose number. The second reason that you might want to consider approaching guys is some good men are just as afraid of you as you are of them, but only temporarily. Intimidation is the abundance of respect. In time, the fear fades, but the respect stays. Every time I mention good men, my comment section is full of "where they at though" comments. Where are all the good men? They are literally everywhere. But they don't often give women butterflies. They often are also the types of men who are hesitant or afraid to approach women. And be not mistaken, the lack of confidence that they have isn't always in themselves, but in your ability to correctly judge their value as they have yours. With that said, another reason why some of you may want to consider approaching guys is you can't score if you don't shoot. Many women will see the perfect guy and leave up to fate that he not only is attracted to them enough that he wants to date, but also has the boldness and courage to approach them. And if I had to guess, I'd guess about 70% of the time it doesn't happen like that. Every woman watching this video has seen or known a guy that she was attracted to, that she hoped would approach her and ask for her number, but didn't. She could have spoken to him or said hi or asked his name, but didn't because it's the so-called man's job. Now she's getting strung along by the quote-unquote real man who approached her, who's swinging his worm at every woman who walks past him and only showing up at her house to hit it. Fate isn't in the business of hooking people up. You gotta hook yourself up. Fate rewards diligence. People always say stuff like, well, if it's meant to be, it'll be. No, it won't. Some of y'all waiting on God, but faith without works is dead. You may have to smile at somebody or initiate a conversation for God to bless your situation, if that's what you're waiting on. You may have to ask him his name or introduce yourself for things to work out in your favor. I swear people understand working for everything else, but think a good man or a good spouse is just supposed to fall in their lap. Men do that crap too. They won't approach a woman and be praying for a woman, but they won't talk to one. But men don't watch my channel, so I'm talking to y'all right now. Sometimes men aren't as superficial as you think they are, and they really don't notice you like that. Maybe if you present yourself and show that you have some intellectual value, then he will pursue you from there. Listen, I know a lot of you ladies fear rejection, just like the men we're referring to. But you can get over rejection. There's no cure for regret. Letting that man that you want get away without shooting your shot will linger in your mind forever if you never find that someone. Give yourself a better chance than that. And of course, this message wasn't for everyone. It's for the women who asked me about this subject, obviously, who are willing to go the extra mile. Anyway, I think I've said enough about this topic. Remember, emails are no longer free. You have to write your email in PayPal with a donation of any amount to guarantee that your email will get answered. Follow me on Instagram at KevHick24. I'll get with y'all later.